The FujiCast is an independent loading zone production.
Thursday, 26th of March, 2020.
The FujiCast.
Thursday, Kev, is the new Saturday, as is Friday and Monday.
I have no idea what day
Tuesday.
Of the week it is.
But yeah,
it's like Christmas, isn't it? It's like that week between Christmas and New Year when you don't actually know what day of the week it is.
You're kind of in no man's land. Yeah. Our Jack's birthday today, so
happy birthday, Jack.
So we've done some present unwrapping, as you would imagine, entirely by Zoom though, which was quite strange. So his grandparents watched him undo his unwrap his gifts by Zoom. His uncle did, and his other uncle and auntie as well. So it's been a Zoom unwrapping today. It's a very we've got kind of, I think we've got a hang now of the handle on doing this, sort of put the machine where we need it, the computer where we need it, and we've got sort of a backdrop now of the living room in the right place with the light coming in at the right time. I mean, at this rate, we'll never have to see our folks ever again.
Can you imagine?
We got it sorted. Do you know one of the funniest, the present that raised the biggest laugh and the whoop in an emergency package from his grandparents? Can you guess? Have a guess at what sort of present?
Pass. No idea.
A toilet roll.
Don't be rude.
No, it's true. His grandparents sent him a
Brilliant.
toilet roll.
Can you send it to us because we're running short?
Well, actually, apparently now people have finally woken up to the reality of this. The shops are able to deal with this better now, aren't they? So,
yeah.
I think, well, there we go. What were you up to last night then? Did you watch all your not your Miss Marples? What were you watching? What did you say?
Last night, what did we do last night? Oh, we played darts for a while, and the kids did some dancing around the kitchen, and then what did we watch? We watched the kids. Well, and I do actually. We really like Modern Family. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
No.
Very funny American.
Is that the cartoon one?
No, it's not. It's not a cartoon. It's definitely not a cartoon. It's
what's the family one I'm thinking about? The cartoon one with all the bad language.
Yeah, you're thinking of Family Guy. I think.
Is that bad? I don't know. Is it bad language? I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. I don't watch that, but Modern Family is really good, really funny, and the kids like it too. Although some of the more adulty type jokes kind of go over their head, which is good.
It's probably a good thing.
And then we watched a bit of Gogglebox, which is always funny.
Yeah.
And then I went to bed.
Well, we've got some questions that have come in, which we'll launch into in a second. A couple of our commercial friends, if you like. Mark at ShotKit's been busy. He's been working on an article that will show photos taken by talented photographers from around the world that depict the effects of COVID-19. Example photos, things like empty supermarket shelves, social distancing, desolate tourist attractions. Of course, now, Kev, you have to remember that some of the above in that list there is just, you can't do it, can you? In some countries you can't even go out, so it's not considered essential movement or travel. So obviously think carefully, but I guess the thinking is that as photographers, many people may already have some of this stuff in their arsenal. So if you've got it, closing submissions very soon, 6 days in terms of the publish date for this latest FujiCast Daily. So that's over at shotkit.com. You can join that, by the way, for free, shotkit.com. How do we describe ShotKit, Kev? You've been on it, I've been on it.
Yeah, it's basically a blog posts of photographers and what's in their camera bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's real kit porn.
Yeah, kit porn, gear porn.
Gear porn.
It's quite interesting, yeah. I read, funny enough, on a similar kind of thread, I read on Twitter the other day about a photographer, just a regular photographer, being stopped this was in the UK, by the police. He was out early trying to take some pictures of the streets empty, and he was swiftly moved on. Get back in your house.
Really? Funnily enough, I saw this as well on the FujiCast Facebook group while we're talking about street stuff. If you're not a member of it, by the way, join us. We'd love you to be there. Simon Berry's thoughts on projects where we're seeing empty streets and aerial shots of areas that only a month ago were full of traffic and people. He says, it's difficult, isn't it? The urge to document versus avoiding pandemic porn. We've never had that word twice in the same episode. For want of a better term, as the memories fade in future, the photos will become more and more important. This is likely to be the most photographed world event ever, isn't it?
Well, I don't know, because, at the end of the day, regardless of the urge to go out and photograph, you shouldn't be. You should be staying at home. That's what they're saying. Stay at home. Don't go out with your camera, and don't go and document it as much as we would love to. Document inside your house.
But I don't just mean desolate streets. I mean those things like inside your house. I mean, as far as a historical project goes, people looking back at this particular year in 100, 200 years, God hope nothing else has happened like it. They'll be far more sensible in keeping all the drugs trials going next time, I think. But, funnily enough, Henry Tring sent in a mail along these lines. He said, just found the podcast since you went daily, boys, and I can see I have a bit of work ahead of me in the next month or 2 or 3 or who knows to tackle the back catalogue. I'm a Sony user professionally, though I have an X100F for personal work, which has certainly been in use of late more. I mainly shoot commercial headshots, which are by nature contrived. They always tend to be on white or mottled backdrops or cloths. So now I'm at home, and with only 5 professional years under my belt, I'm being forced to think outside the box and find new subjects. Reportage, of course. Any hints or tips on how to tell a family story? Since, Kevin, you're somebody I greatly admire for your day-in-the-life work. Keep going, boys. Appreciate the effort you're making. Henry Tring from HT Visuals. So, come on, some hints, because you are the day-in-the-life king.
Well, that's it, though, isn't it? The whole point is that it's candid. So whatever is happening, but you also, you always have to remember it's got to be more than snapshots. So you have to take into consideration light, light composition, moment. Those 3 things, they're the key critical elements of a good picture. And then when it comes to stories, who, why, what, where, and when, we've talked about that a load of times before. It's very easy to just turn into snapshots, family snapshots, and then put them all together and say this is a day in the life, and actually it's a whole load of snapshots. When you want to make something artistic out of it, you have to think beyond using candid or candidity. Is candidity a thing?
No, you've just invented
candid nature as an excuse. Some people will say, well, it's candid, so it's a bad picture because it's candid. It is, I can't affect what happened there, but actually you can affect the light, the metering, the exposure, the mood, the angles, the positions. And so you have to think about those rather than just snap, 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 snap. Although, of course, we all do snap, 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 and they are our own family snaps that nobody else will see apart from the family, who are the most important people.
There was an amazing film that Fran Corbett? So I've not got it to hand. Fran, I'm sorry if I got the last name wrong, but she shared something on Vimeo. She lives in France, and she's been making 2.5, 3-minute films with her XT3. But they're very good films, and they're exceptionally candid and very honest, because you can see the look in the children's face sometimes, thinking, please, no, I don't want to do this. So she's got that real feeling of we're in this together, family, in one. So I suppose really authenticity during this period as well. If you're doing a day in the life stuff, I mean, I know you wouldn't be scared of showing the kids showing their emotions, would you?
No, not at all. Although it's, the older they get, the more difficult it becomes. And it's really tricky for me because the only camera I have in my house is my GFX 100 with the 110mm lens. I don't even have the X100. It's all of that's in the studio.
And I don't suppose now with the current rules you can even take Git out for a walk and go and collect it, can you?
Well, I suppose I could. I could. The walk. My studio is only about a 4-minute walk from the house, so I could take the dog and pop in there. But it's about being obliging to what they say, and there is a lot. Even though I live in Sleepy Malmesbury, and not a lot of people live here. There's a lot of police, and I suspect that's something to do with Dyson, because Dyson. At the top of the hill, a lot of people, Dyson, you may know Dyson is headquarters in Malmesbury. James Dyson was from Malmesbury, and now they're producing 10,000 ventilators for the government.
Yes, I know, amazing.
So Dyson is open, and presumably they're manufacturing them there rather than in China, where their usual manufacturing bases.
Must be.
So there's a lot of cars and a lot of people walking up and down the street going to Dyson, but equally a lot of police as well, who are, because I'm seeing it through my window. They're all going by, and presumably the police are like, "Can I see your Dyson badge?"
Well, they're doing a really important job.
Yeah, absolutely.
One from Simon Pickard. Oh, we only had him on the show yesterday. Was it the day before? From Quidditch, as I called it, in Devon. Which I know is Quidditch. Thanks for the daily, boys. I just wanted to encourage you both to get your cameras out and capture some images. It's not their fault that the world has gone AWOL. The images don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be published. They just need to be, oh, look at that, click moment. He's absolutely right, isn't he?
Yeah, that's what we just talked about.
How much have you actually used your... I know you've got the GFX. If it wasn't the GFX and you had your X100F there, would you be taking lots of pictures? I must admit, I've been really... I've only turned the camera on for some video stuff that I've been doing in my studio here.
Yeah, I must admit, it hasn't been something that's been crossing my mind so much because, without being disingenuous, I think, those people who have a day job and a guaranteed salary and all that kind of stuff, it might be more natural for them to think, it'd be a nice time to get the camera out and, and do some family stuff. For me right now, I'm more concerned about, getting income and, what happens next and, speaking to the weddings and the clients that are deferring and figuring all that stuff out. So, yeah, I mean... Who knows how long we're going to be in this box?
This thing.
I just hope the weather stays with us. It's beautiful.
You told me the other day it was going to snow, and I said that to the family. I said, Kevin sent something here.
Warning.
Yeah. He says the snows are on the way. Apparently they're not, though.
Well, according to MetCheck, they are. MetCheck.com.
When does MetCheck say they're here then?
Sunday morning.
Oh. What the? No, that's the last thing we need.
Yeah.
Honestly. Give us a break! Excuse me. I feel I have to shout sometimes. This soundproof studio is very good for shouting in.
I've got all the entire family are huddled in the kitchen. I've said, don't say a word. Keep the dogs quiet.
No, they can make noise because it's real life. Because you're where you are in your world. I'm where I am in my world. Just now, Sam was out there mowing the lawn, and she said, "Shall I stop?" I said, "No, carry on. It's just real life."
Well, if you could send us your lawnmower as well, because that's one thing we haven't got at the moment. So our lawn, is looking very dodgy.
You're going to be living in a jungle. I tell you what, if the kids get bored, say, "Kids, we got a couple of pairs of scissors. We need to mow the lawn."
yeah. Well, the thing is, we'd let those hairy things that live in the garden out to chew on them normally, but the dog would be after that like a rabbit up a drain pipe, or whatever the saying is.
Adnan Onar, Fujifilm cameras have a setting for high dynamic range. How does it work internally or technically? What are the trade-offs, Kev? Considerations? What are we sacrificing for a higher value, having to use a higher ISO? Thanks for the good work.
Yeah, I mean, the dynamic range setting is something that's been in all of the Fuji cameras. You can choose auto, 100%, 200%, 400%, and effectively it pushes up the minimum ISO you can shoot at to save the shadows and highlights. I typically leave it at 100%. That's the equivalent of off. And it only affects your JPEG. So, if you shoot RAW, you can pretty much ignore it. And yeah, it's not... actually, saying that, I'm not sure if he might be talking about XT4 and the high dynamic range type bracketing stuff that's in there. I'm presuming he's on about just dynamic range, regular dynamic range.
I'm looking. I don't know why I put the thing right on the floor over here. Yes, he is.
Yeah,
just in reach.
Dynamic range, yeah. So leave it at 100% if you don't want to have it affecting your images. It'll only affect JPEGs. 400%, I think, will mean you can only shoot a minimum ISO of 800. There you go.
Steve Lynham, I'm not a professional photographer, I'm an amateur photographer who, like many of your followers, etc., loves taking photos. I worked in a school for very disabled children the last 14 years of my career. Shortly before retiring, I thought, I'll upgrade my camera equipment. Been using Nikon stuff, Nikon, but became aware that the buzz that was rumbling around the X100. So this is going back a few years, isn't it? I came across Zach Arias, his hero of ours. The more I looked at his stuff, the more I realised that these were the sort of photos I was trying to make with my DSLRs. So to cut a very long story short, I bought the X100S. At first, both smitten by the pure loveliness that it produced, and then frustrated by the slowness in gaining focus. The X100S wasn't fast, was it? It was better than the X100, but it certainly wasn't speedy, was it?
Well, it was speedy at the time.
Yeah,
it's not now, though.
True.
Yeah.
He says, anyway, I persevered. Then I came across that Mullins work and was absolutely bowled over by his images, and still am. I also realised that in my own amateur way, his work was exactly what I'm trying to get to. About 3 years ago, I decided I'd look through all my photos, thousands, make a website for the very best of them. And this was a very good thing because I realised that despite my worst fears, I'd actually taken a couple of good ones over the years. It came as a complete surprise. I'm actually proud of my best images because, like everyone else, I suffer from imposter syndrome. Now, we've both suffered from that, haven't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
How does
I think it's natural.
How does it manifest with you?
Well, I wake up in the morning and I think, I'm rubbish, and then go back to bed.
No, you don't.
I think we all do. It's natural, isn't it? Because if you don't think, actually, am I good at this? Then it just becomes egotistical, I suppose. But yeah, I think everybody has an element of imposter syndrome. When will I get caught out? When will they figure it all out? If
you don't feel that to an extent, surely. I don't know, it's a bit like having nerves when you go into a wedding scenario, isn't it? If you haven't got slight well, I don't suffer from nerves, but I do suffer from or suffer is probably the wrong word, but I there's an anticipation. Pressing that first shutter press is important, isn't it? Yeah, I think you get into a rhythm of things pretty quick. But it's really funny because you see some people who seem to have right at the beginning of the curve of their career. They're on Facebook. Look at my picture, it's great, and then they start dissing other people's pictures and everything. And then after a while, they realize actually, their pictures perhaps aren't that good. And, it's like you see it all the time. It happens all the time. And then they go into that curve of, oh my God, actually, maybe I'm not very good at this. And then, somebody says your pictures are good. And then they think, well, actually, all right, maybe I am okay at this. And it's a yo-yo, isn't it? It's constant yo-yo. I love Steve's website, by the way, www.notaproperphotographer.com. Should go check that out. He was the one, by the way, that did ask. He said there must be something about. He was talking about the two of us. I know that you're friends, but there must be something about the other one that irritates, annoys, or perplexes you. He said, "Go on, spill the beans." So it was still Steve that sent that question, but I think we answered that one, didn't we? But yeah. But you said you hated me, and I said I couldn't think of anything. I did not say that at all. I said you were too hard on yourself because you are a perfectionist, though, aren't you? I don't. Well, I think I try my best. Oh, listen to you. Hang on, I must just go and shave my left eyebrow a little bit. It's a bit too long. Are they growing unnecessarily? Yeah. Well, there we go. You can put that in the jobs. Mow the lawn, do the eyebrows. Anyway, mow the eyebrows. Mow the eyebrows. So we have a short interview today. We're talking about different genres, and I thought this might be fun. I spoke a little while ago to Nizar Birch, who is a dog photographer. He's just only recently started doing it professionally. I thought a little bit of his story might be interesting to listen to as we're all thinking about our genres and what we're doing as professionals and what happens at the end of all this. So this is Nizar Birch. 2 years ago you started photographing dogs. The business is called Scallywags. I know you have two of your own. You've got spaniels, haven't you? Yes. What are their names?
The one's Blaze and the younger one is Spice.
And have you always had dogs?
I had dogs. Growing up in South Africa, they are different. So they're more outside dogs for protection and basically crime.
So 2 years ago then you decide to set up what our cousins across the pond would call a hustle, an occupation aside your main one. Take me right back to the day, Nizar, that you thought, you know what, I could attach pound notes to this.
Well, it started off with I had a spaniel before these two. He was called Scully. So Scully is the Afrikaans word for scallywag. And I just started taking photos of him, posted photos on Facebook. I joined all these spaniel groups on Facebook, posted photos on there, and it just started escalating from there because people started asking me to photograph their pets, and then that's when I realized there might be a market for this.
So you really started out, it was really social media that got the whole thing starting for you, and it wasn't something that you thought, right, well, I'll post these because I'm going to make money. You were posting them because you love the dogs, and it was just it was almost by accident that people were saying, "Well, I like what you do, Nizar. Could you do the same for me?"
That's how it started.
Okay, what gear did you start out with then?
I started off with the Lumix point and shoot. From there, I moved on to Canon 70D, and then I started doing workshops, and I just pushed myself like 100% into this. And the more I did the workshops and all these YouTube tutorials, I realized that I needed to get professional gear if I wanted the standard that I am at now. And so I got all the Canon Pro lenses, and the more workshops I did, the better I got.
I like this idea that you spend time playing with the dogs before you even pick the camera up to photograph them. Do you think that makes much of a difference?
Yes, I do, because the more you do it, you start seeing and realizing how dogs react. One of the main things, you don't want to photograph a nervous dog, so you sort of you start seeing the signs. So the calmer the dog and the more relaxed the dog is, the better shots you'll get.
So when you play with these dogs, it's not rough and tumble throwing a ball for them. It's a calming down process.
This is in a confined. If it's studio, it's in a confined space. But if it's an outdoor shoot, I'll probably go in a country park and I'll have my camera in my bag and we'll probably walk for half an hour so that the dog can release energy and get used to me.
Do you have any experiences where it just wouldn't work? Or have you faced up to any breeds that were just looking at you with that don't press that shutter Nizar look? I
had a rescue dog and it was a Saluki Whippet cross. So this is a greyhound, like a hound type dog, who was rescued and totally afraid of men. And he just wouldn't settle. And all my shots I got of him was of his ears going backwards, like he was forced to do. He wasn't happy. And as soon as I told the client can we move to the garden, because I do my shooting in client homes, so I'm mobile. I don't have a studio of my own.
Yeah.
So after a while, I told the client, can we just get the dog outside so he can just be himself? And most of my shots from the shoot, I ended up having outdoor shots because the dog was just happier outdoor.
Yeah. If you are indoors or maybe even outdoor for some applications, does flash make dogs nervous?
Yes, it can. There's a few questions I ask the owner beforehand. I'll normally ask, how does the dog react to noise? Because I have toys that make, I have duck noises, I have whistles to get the action from the dog. So normally I'd ask the owner, does the dog react to any noise? Is he a nervous dog? And while I'm setting up, I would just test my speed light. And normally you'll just look and say, oh, what was that? But his tail would still be wagging. So it's more curiosity.
We're 2 years into this now. Is there a plan to take this full time as the main occupation?
That's the plan, yes.
And how close are we to that?
Probably another year or so. I think mine, like I said, my next step would be to have a proper studio where my display and light and everything's on show all the time.
Who's your inspiration, by the way? I'm intrigued. You must have somebody that you look at in your genre and think, oh, I want to be like him or her.
First, when I started doing the photography, the English photographer who does working dogs, and he's the first one I looked at and I thought, oh, that's the sort of outdoor stuff I'd like to do. And he's called Steve McGuinness. Yeah, and then there's then I just did normal workshops there's Alice Loader. She does workshops, all dog photography related. Another person who's helped me a lot with workshops and training is a photographer called Linda Johnston. And the good thing about the dog photography, there's lots of groups. The more you post, the more critique and help you get, and that's helped me a lot.
Thanks to Nizar, and of course, if you have any stories for us, send them in. Click at fujicast.co.uk. Thursday night. Anything planned?
I think I'm going to stay in tonight. Yeah. We're going to stay in, maybe watch a bit of telly for a change.
You're going to come to the pub tomorrow?
No. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, if all of this is finished by tomorrow.
No. There's a virtual pub. I got a call up last week. I got a message saying, "You coming to the pub?" I said, "What do you mean coming to the pub? I can't come to the pub. We're all locked in. Boris has said you can't go out." "No, you're going to come down the pub." And there was a virtual pub waiting for me at the end. Well, I was in my office. There I was in the virtual pub on Zoom.
Yeah, there's a lot of that actually. Laura, bless her, at Fujifilm, she's tried to keep us all in touch by having these virtual meetups with morning for coffee and then evening for drinks. The London Welsh boys, they're doing one on Friday nights. That's not that will not be very.
There's no coffee.
Yeah, absolutely, it won't be for the faint-hearted. That's for sure. Then my mum's three dads, they're doing one. Yeah, so. I haven't been to any of them yet. I'll just be sat here looking. Actually, I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been getting to grips with Capture One.
Oh, and has your mind changed about it at all?
No.
Oh.
I've been, when I say getting to grips with it, I've been thinking about throwing my screen out the window.
Oh, no, why?
Yeah, you can't even go full screen. You can't press F to get the image to just appear. Like in lights off mode on Lightroom.
Yeah.
You can't that. that just doesn't happen. And I must be doing something wrong or whatever, I don't know. But it's just like the basic things. I must admit, the images that I'm pulling out of it are nice, but the effort involved is just a little bit too much.
Is the sharpening everything that they say that it is better above Lightroom?
I can't see any different myself.
The wormies disappearing. The famous worms everybody talks about.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, that's for images that are probably a little bit over sharpened anyway. So I never sharpen my images, so I'm not really seeing it. But I mean, the worm effect is definitely a thing in Lightroom for sure, but I rarely see it.
No.
But I'm going to persevere because I feel like
chicken tonight.
I feel like chicken tonight, Lightroom. Lightroom tonight.
I think we're all going
tonight,
a little bit mad. I feel like
tonight.
chicken tonight. Thank you. I don't think we have any. There's a shortage down that we will be eating virtual chicken. All right, well, I'll chat to you tomorrow on the last daily of the week before we hit the weekend.
Okie doke. Take care. Bye-bye.
The FujiCast is an independent Loading Zone production. Email the show with your questions and words of wisdom to click@fujicast.co.uk. Email any complaints and political nonsense to our wives, who will deal with your comments in their own good time and in their own good way.